How are you?
I'm good. How was life?
Oh, good. It's been extremely busy, but
I can imagine. Let me mic you up real quick.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I've got to get me one of the hats.
Yes.
First and foremost, yeah.
I got my first one like last week.
Oh, so they're really holding out.
Yeah, no, this one, the freshman. We have our new program that started a couple of weeks ago. And yeah.
I love it. Look,
Yeah.
I know all about EF because I love it. Like, they're huge in Europe. They're obviously global. They're a global brand now. Tell us a little bit about what you do there and EF just in general.
Yeah, so I'm a talent investor at EF. The thesis with EF is basically that like we believe there's a lot of smart people in this world, and I think a lot of them spend their life chasing these structured games that I don't think people care about as much or shouldn't care about as much, like big tech, consulting, IB, whatever. I was one of those people for a lot of my career.
Which one were you?
Big tech.
Yeah. Google, Microsoft.
Amazon.
Ah, even better.
I don't know. and yeah, so we basically believe that these smart people should be working on the hardest problems in their lives, but they have like a lot of these like barriers to do so, right? Like a lot of people don't know anything about VC, don't know how to raise capital or like whatever. And we basically exist to tell these people that like, look, we can somewhat abstract this away for you. Focus on the most important thing.
Just go build.
And of course, like the co-founder is a big piece of it because we believe that like if you're going to give someone 50% of your company, they better be good, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's basically why EF exists. So I spent a lot of my year just meeting really interesting people. And the way I like to define my job is I like to find people that are not priced in the market. So for example, if I go and find...
Not priced in the market.
Yeah, like if I go and find the next guy that went to do CS at Cambridge and did Jane Street, that's cool. Probably it's very smart. But I want to find the new alpha, right? Mm-hmm. Because VCs would not spend their time finding that because it's not in their best interest because they focus on their companies, right? And so that's where I think the job is really interesting. So I spend my time in like really random places like GitHub, open source projects, and I meet really interesting people. And yeah, so that's basically how I define my job at EF.
I like it. Like the idea of a talent investor is sort of what you've redefined at EF, right? It's like there's whole blogs on the website that you can go read, or at least there was maybe before the redesign. And I remember sitting in that and going like, this is a really cool role to have. Mm-hmm. You meet the most cracked people on the planet. You try and deeply find them at an early stage and sort of bring them into the world of venture. You're doing that really well with the Bridge and that new program. How's that been so far?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. So the Bridge is this like residency where we are basically sending people to the US from day one because we noticed that. So previously we were like semi-US, so we used to do half in London or Paris or Bangalore and then the US. And now we just noticed that a lot of people want to go to the US much quicker, so we're like, go for it. It's been good, it's an interesting concept, but there's a lot of logistics. So like getting a place that can house so many people, moving all these people with the visa situations and all that is like, and like getting all the people like through the interview process is like a lot of hurdles, but I think the team, I'm not on that team, but the team is doing a really good job. And the person running it, I think is one of the best people at EF. So
who's running it?
Mike.
Mike's running it?
Yeah.
Nice.
I really rate Mike.
Love it. Look, what are you bullish about in AI right now? I just want to get into the tech with you, because it's not often that we get to sit here and talk to someone that is across so much, but in the weeds as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I think it's interesting, like with the F, like you sort of get like a basket of companies and you sort of can say what people are focusing on now. I think like a year ago when I joined, people are still in the like initial application layer phase, focusing on like high value, easily automatable problems like customer support, sales, all that stuff. And now I think over the last 6-ish months, we're seeing a shift towards like more legacy businesses. So like businesses that never even actually adopted the first wave of the internet. And for them to actually go fully into becoming more software enabled is hard because headcount and all that sort of stuff. And so AI is interesting for them because it can sort of still be like abstracted away, and it can like sort of either save you a lot more time or make you a lot more money, and you don't have the hassle of like all the overhead of like training and development. And so a lot of our companies are basically doing this. They're like, of course, a lot of kids that don't know anything about insurance and like whatever it is. And so they basically start off like going very human in the loop as like they work with these companies and try to understand things from the ground up. Forward deployed, exactly. They spend a lot of time doing that. But the interesting thing is like the Act 2, where they want to become the AI-enabled distributor, the AI-enabled insurance claims processing company, and literally swallow up the entire middle layer.
Oh, wow.
And I think this is like really interesting because I think people are becoming much more ambitious when they're trying to build these companies. And the most interesting things are when you tell this to VCs, it's not like very, that's too much. Like everyone's like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And that's like really making me excited about the companies we're building now.
What are you particularly bullish on?
I spend a lot of my time interested in security. I think
Data security or just security in general, national security?
I think like
Because
certain
it's a broad, it's a
yeah,
broad
if you think
spectrum.
about like, infrastructure in AI, I think like a lot of parts of the infrastructure are becoming national security problems.
Agreed.
So like NVIDIA and stuff, right? But I'm generally curious about. I think there's more and more modalities of data coming up now, or like interactions, like voice agents, and basically all of it is like a new level of abstraction, right? And I think all of us don't understand like what the threat landscapes are. And if you go more and more into abstractions, there's more and more potential for things going on in the background that you have no idea is happening, right? And we are in tech, but like if you think about a normal consumer, they don't have any clue, right? And I'm really curious about that. One, because I think like no one knows anything, and then two, I think a lot of our talent, which is more on the younger side, has a right to win in this really hard industry because you're going up against these like 30, 40-year-olds who like have dominated enterprise because security is very enterprise heavy. But now, if you're going into a complete white space, it sort of shifts the balance between the younger and older part of the people in this industry. So I generally find that really interesting. And like if you speak to people who do like bug bounties and stuff in cyber, they're just making like hundreds of thousands of dollars for 3 months of the year, spending like 9 months in Bali and enjoying their life.
Really?
And yeah, like I spend a lot of time speaking to people on Discord on who do bug bounties. Find the bug for like Airbnb,
Yeah.
make $100,000, go and spend the rest of the year in Bali, and the companies can't do anything, right? Because they have to pay these people. And
But like, I feel like that's a waste of life.
but this is like not everyone wants to build generational companies, right? Like these
But
guys.
even if it's not a generational company, like it's just a waste of talent.
Yeah, I mean that's one interesting thing, right? Like I think with EF, like I can't convince people to start companies. I think people should think a lot more ambitiously than they should, and I think people underestimate what they can do if they just lock in for 6 to 12 months. But I don't ever want to force people to start companies or think about like starting generational companies, right?
Here's a question then, right? Like,
Yeah.
the idea of the generational company coming out of Europe is becoming more and more clear. Like, it feels, we're asking people today, it seems like they are incredibly bullish. There is 100% conviction that that is going to happen within the next 5. But if we can't force someone into building a generational company, how do you get them to think about starting the company?
Yeah, I mean, like if you think about like a lot of the people that I have seen start really great companies, it's a lot of people that have played a lot of games in life. So
Yep.
you play like the game of getting into your Oxfords or getting into like your Amazon, Jane Street, whatever. And a lot of people basically play these games to get what's at the finish line. And when you realize that like either
Life's
the game
just
is
a
too
game with
easy,
incentives.
or like the game is too easy, or like the winning isn't big enough, you just think about like, okay, what can I actually do that is going to give me enough power or money or whatever to actually do what I want to do, right? And then like company building becomes one of those things. Like one of our investors, Charlie Songhurst, has like defined this really well, which I like is like most people care about one of 3 things when founding is either money, fame, or power, and I think that's so true.
What do you think of? What's your incentive?
My incentive.
Yeah, money, fame, or power?
I don't think any of those because I don't want to found a company right now. My incentive right now is I want people to do the hard thing. Like I can tell you very honestly, if someone raises a really hot seed round in 6 to 12 months, I'll be happy because like it's like a good validation for EF, right? But it's not the end goal. Like the end goal is when you see a Clio going and becoming a unicorn, right?
Yep.
That is why we're doing this. I don't really care about like how big of a seed round someone raises, and I care about people winning. I grew up playing sports at a very high level, and I did not care about anything else but winning. And I don't like a model of company building that does not involve winning at a large scale. So like one thing I try to make very clear with all the people I work with is like, look, you're doing the hard thing. Understand what you're getting yourself into. I don't care about like, or like you shouldn't care about all these leading indicators of like seed round A, B, C, whatever. The end goal is what matters, right? And I think that's where expectation setting from our point of view should be very important. And I think we do that pretty well.
Do you see a lot of parallels between performing at the highest level in sport and then going and building a company?
Yeah, I mean, like I think so. I used to play a lot of cricket growing up, and I think the one thing with sports is just like it's like sort of structured and unstructured in the way it's structured that you know what the end state is, but it's unstructured in the way that you can actually navigate many ways to
And
win
play
the
the
game,
game.
right? Exactly. I think the thing I really liked about sports is like, or like even like things like comparative programming or like open source projects is like the world is your oyster, sort of. Like no one really tells you during school to like, I try to play this thing at a high level or do this at like a high level, but it's basically through your own agency that you do it, right? Which is why I really like people that like spend their younger years doing like CTFs for cybersecurity or like open source projects or playing sports, because I think that is the unusual thing to do. And if you come from, I grew up in an Indian family, it's pretty unusual to do anything but study.
Yeah, no,
right?
I feel the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
What about, did you grow up in India?
In Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
What was that dynamic like?
It was odd, but it was odd, but like you sort of didn't know it because that's all. That was your entire data set growing up. I think Saudi is great. I think it's becoming much more open and better. And I spent a lot of time speaking to VCs and people in Saudi. And one thing I can tell you is like they are definitely wanting to. Definitely wanting to bring the country in a competitive level to the rest of the world. Like you're seeing partnerships with like Grok and like data centers, and like they're getting into AI infra as well. Like the PIF and stuff are like committing so much resources. I think they're like a sleeper that I think people should be thinking more about.
I feel the same way, and most people don't want to talk about it though.
Yeah.
Look, let's go big picture, because it's nice to go that far out and think about the universe and AI and everything, right? And you feel like one of the guys that sits here and thinks about that from time to time. Where is this thing going to take us? Like we're operating on time horizons that are like 6 months. People don't know what's going to happen to in the next model, let alone the next 5 years, the next 10 years. For you, how do you think about the mental model of how technology has changed and will continue to change? Or are we just in cycles and we're just in this new cycle?
Yeah. Okay, I think like I think it can get very easy to think about like all these funding rounds and like all these things as like the metrics of success. I think it's really wrong. If you actually think about it from a macro perspective, what OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepMind, all these companies are trying to do, they're basically trying to find the next S-curve, right? And they're trying to basically bet on the fact that the winning from us figuring this out is going to be bigger than any other era in the history of technology. And I think that is like what you should be thinking about, because this is that transformational. Like if you think about the split of a GDP of a country, you'd say probably what, like labor and like something like labor would probably be a high percentage of it.
Agreed.
And technology actually surprisingly is not that large right now. So if you think about like a lot of people going after these low-skill jobs with AI, and if like that percentage starts shrinking and like technology starts increasing, I think that is like a very clear indicator of like how impactful this could be, in terms of like how many jobs it actually impacts and how much of like a transformation there is.
And then what happens to the human being? Like if we're automating away all of these jobs,
Sure,
and let's be honest, like that is happening.
Sure.
You see the metrics come out and there's an indicator that maybe it's not, but the reality is yes, this is already happening.
Yeah.
What happens to the human being?
I think there's two things, right? I'm approaching this from a very optimistic point of view, but like there's two things. One, I think there's always new jobs that come up.
Agreed.
One, you're seeing like all these data labeling companies that are like needing people to manually actually go and like label data. So like that's one like interesting use case. I think there also needs to be a lot of like sort of work in parallel with the education system, I believe, because I think there's also like a lot of responsibility here for like why these people keep ending up in like the low income jobs, right? Of course, if you go to like a public school, it's hard to like actually get the skills to go and do a high paying job. But then you have to question why things are the way they are. Like I went to a public school in Saudi, which was like not very great, and a lot of people didn't know what was available in the world, right? But I think it's just like, again, just like getting everyone in a room and just discussing like these infrastructure problems that have existed for a decade, and maybe if this transformation happens, then people might actually do something about it, right?
What are you incredibly bullish on in the next five years?
In terms of what exactly?
In the context of AI, in the context of your talent, in the context of technology as a whole, what are you incredibly bullish on?
I think there's so much white space that now more than ever, the balance, like the stakes are there for pretty much anyone to go after. I would say there were like specific industries and stuff where you would imagine people who have spent like a decade or two in the industry know all the people can succeed only. I would think that is becoming more and more wrong with AI, and I think that like the balance is shifting, and pretty much everything is there to be questioned, if not disrupted. Right now it's legacy industries, but I think that's a clear proof point, right? Like if you think about like insurance, for example, if you didn't know anyone or hadn't spent 20, 30 years in the industry, you wouldn't do anything. Whereas now one of our companies, Strala, is like got founded last summer, raised from Founders Fund, doing incredibly well, and they know all the big people in the space, and they're doing incredibly well. So like I think it's very beneficial for our talent at least to start questioning what needs to be changed, because I think like I just think it's possible now.
What are you pessimistic about?
That's a
Oh,
good.
we're both techno-optimists here.
Yeah.
We both love technology. We do, and I believe truly that it is going to change the world for the better.
Yeah.
But I sit here and do think sometimes about the pessimistic side of it.
One thing I'm pessimistic about is like not actually AI related, but more just like intent to found from people. I think it's become so cool to found, and there's a lot of noise that we have to signal out as well. Is like, why do you actually want to do this? And if I think the sad thing is, or like not sad, but like the maybe sad actually, is like if you think about 60 to 70% of people, or like if you think about all the people you speak to, I think a good 60-70% would stop founding if they got like a normal offer, or like if after like raising an A or B, things wind down. I think most people would be satisfied with it, or even if there is a seed round, they'd be more satisfied with it. So I think it's like this is something I'm generally pessimistic about, is like how cool it is becoming to found, because like to be honest, I just don't have any interest in working with people who don't want to get the end goal, right? Like that is why we all exist. That is why VCs exist. I know I'm biased with my incentives, of course, but like that is why the game is the game, right? Like we all want to win, and if you don't want to win, then like what are we doing here, right? Like EF, I think EF puts in incredibly more resources than like anyone else, because we are like working with these guys from like minus day one, and we get to see that slope of people doing nothing to raising from like tier one VCs like Founders Fund Index in like 6 months. And then if you put all that effort in, you want to see them go all the way,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
It's a compounding effect on the individual.
Yeah, so I think that's something I'm generally very pessimistic about, and I hope we help like the non-entrepreneur side of this industry. That's it.
Entrepreneur, I like it. It's definitely more in flavor than ever before.
Yeah.
But last question before we let you go. I know you've got a lot. You want to get in the room and start talking to these devs. Favorite portco?
Oh my God.
I know they're all your children.
Why are you
I know,
doing
I
this
love
to
it.
me?
I absolutely love doing it because you've got to sit there and you've got to pick one.
I don't want to answer this and check my Slack later because someone's going to be angry. Favorite portco is a new one. They are very fresh, but I know this guy for like the last 18 months. It's Faction. They're trying to build like this AI native distributor, and they're basically, their hunch is that like distributors are these like this age-old industry where like basically you manage two sides of the relationship, and a lot of it is like heavily manual because you have to do a lot of POs and spreadsheets and like finagling of data and managing so many relationships. And these guys basically are trying to be the middleware layer to help distributors manage both those relationships well.
You must love that from an Amazon perspective.
Yes,
Yeah?
of course I do. Yes, but because I spent a lot of my time in my first internship actually just doing similar sort of stuff. But I love the founders. I know Kunal for like a long time, and he's a great friend, and I back them to do really great things.
My man, this is an absolute pleasure.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
getting
man.
in the
Take care.
calendar. Let
Have
me
a
grab
good
the
day.
mic from you.